Welcome back to InDesign Basic Training. In this video, we will learn how to create a new document. In the Start menu, there are presets available if you're using the Creative Cloud version of InDesign. And you can click on the presets area, and there'll be a number of them available to you. If you're using an earlier version of InDesign, such as CS6, like you see here, the Welcome area here, it'll say Create New Document, and it'll bring you up to the new document presets as well. Most of the time what we will do is go to the File drop-down menu, select New, and then you can select Document. Book is more advanced, but it's for putting together chapters. A library is a preset set of collection of information objects that you collect, and you can use them on your document. So we're going to choose Document, or you can always use Command N or Control N if you're on a PC. And in any version of InDesign, you'll come up with a new document pop-up menu like you see here. Let's take a look at this, and we will choose, you can fill this out just like a form, and it tells us what options that we would like. We can choose a preset, okay, which is right here, or we can customize, which we will most of the time do customization if you have specific projects that you want to do that's a custom size. All right, the intent, let's go to take a look at that. All right, do we want print, web, or digital publishing? InDesign has web settings so that we can design a web page or app interfaces. Digital publishing is used for setting up dynamic publications, which are interactive magazines. We'll be concentrating on print to start with, but not to worry. Once you learn the basics of InDesign and the depth it has to offer, you can use it for many other types of projects. Also, once you learn InDesign for page layout, which is putting your imagery and your text together, you can apply your layout skills to other page layout programs as well, such as Quark Express. Let's go through each part of our little pop-up menu. Under Preset, we can customize, and under Intent, we're going to choose Print. Number of pages, well, let's see, how many pages can we do? You may start off with just one page. It depends on your project. But how many can we actually put in here? Wait for it. Up to 9,999 pages we are able to put into a document in InDesign. But that's kind of ridiculous. In reality, we will want to split up a publication by chapters and put together chapters as in a book, and that's why we have the book setting. All right, go to Start Page Number. Well, of course, because we can do chapters, we can start the page numbers in InDesign, and InDesign can auto-increment. So I recommend sticking with one unless you are working with chapters of a book. Uncheck the facing pages for single page usage, and check the facing pages, which is the default, if you want facing pages, or in other words, 2 pages across from each other. You may run into just a little bit of a trouble, which it's not really much trouble at all, but if you do facing pages and you only want one page and you start adding pages, then it's going to look odd in your layout. But we will cover that in an advanced video in the future. The primary text frame, let's see. You want to check that if you want to start with a text frame to put text automatically in. I usually leave it unchecked because I want to customize. Your page size, Well, here are your presets, really. Especially for us in the US, the standard sheet of paper size is 8.5 by 11. So if you choose letter, then that's what you'll get. Legal, 8.5 by 14. Tabloid would be twice the size of an 8.5 by 11 sheet, which is 11 by 17. Okay. If you need a different unit of measure, that can be typed in. Here I do happen to have inches because I set that in my presets. Orientation, you can do portrait or landscape across. Okay, so it affects the width. Under columns, if you use, well, like I have here, 12 columns. I'm not sure if that's the default or not, but usually it's because we want to create a web page. So I only want one column, meaning I just want to have an outer edge. And so the gutter here does not matter until I actually go to more than one column. Okay, the gutter is the space between the columns. Margins. Now, margins are very important in page layout of any kind. It contains the live area, or in other words, the area we want to make sure that does not get trimmed off and doesn't get too close to the edge. We come in from the edge with our text in a page layout, and you'll get used to that as you do more and more page layout. 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch is usually a decent standard, and it depends on the type of a project. For instance, if you do a newspaper needs a much larger margin because of the level of accuracy in production is much, much lower, whereas with a business card, it can be as small as 1/8 of an inch. And so we want to make the top, bottom, these sides to be the same size, and so I want to check this little make all settings the same chain link, and that will set them to be the same size. Okay, and I don't know if you notice this, but when I check or uncheck the facing pages, you'll notice that under the margins with facing pages, it has an inside and outside rather than left and right margins. The inside is in the gutter, or in other words, the spine, where the pages face each other, as in a book or a booklet. And the outside is the trim area on the outside edges. In a booklet or in a thicker publication, which you have facing pages, you may wish to have this unchecked to make the settings the same. You want to have the inside to have a larger margin, probably at least 1/8 of an inch larger, to accommodate for pages disappearing into the spine. All right, if you need to get to this next part here, this bleed and slug, this is a set of options. Now, if you're working with the CSX6 version, okay, there is a way to expand that under options. I'm going to go to that right here. If we go to a new document, and you'll see here, fewer options or more options brings out the bleed and the slug. Okay, let's go back to this. Let's take a look at bleed and slug choices. A bleed is an extended measurement added into the document itself. The purpose of it is to allow an overlap beyond the trim edge of the document page if it has imagery or colors that touch the edge of the trim. It makes it possible for a little wiggle room for the trimming pages, just in case the pages are trimmed slightly off from your document. In future videos, we'll talk about production of printed materials, so you can make the right decisions regarding your projects as well. So if you have something like an image, then you can add a bleed edge. And a bleed edge is usually 1/8 of an inch as a standard, but always check with your print manager to see what size we actually want to have that. Okay, so let's take a look at this. If I were to add 1/8 of an inch, Here we put our numbers in terms of decimals. And so an eighth of an inch, point or 0.125 is an eighth of an inch. And if I click anywhere in the other area, if I have the chain link make all settings the same, then it's going to jump into the boxes. All right, now the slug is also for production. It allows an area off the document and onto the pasteboard for the production notes and for information about the job. It may contain information such as the company producing the layout, contact information, production sizes, job number, or client information, or all of those things. Okay, I do have an area for a slug like 4 inches. I'm just going to make it 4 inches on one side. Usually it's not all the way around. You can put it on top, bottom, side, wherever. Okay, now as we go along in this, you'll notice that most panels have a preview. Okay, if you're doing a task, you can check to see the document so that you can see your choices as you go along. So if you check that preview, it will, or it should, build the document, and so we can see it before we even make our choices, okay, completed. So you can see here that I have built these with margins, top, bottom, side, left, right. I also have a slug, which is this little area here with the blue line. The red represents my bleed area. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I like what I'm seeing. A few last things. Then if you do not see rulers like I have in available showing top and the left-hand side, then you can go under the View drop-down menu, which takes care of how we view our document in the workspace. And then we could get the rulers. I'm showing them right now so I can hide them. It's a toggle. Or bring them out, show rulers. Or you can use a Command or Control R to bring out the rulers. Okay, the rulers are important because you might want to have some guidelines for the size of your document. Placing things, measuring them, lining things up, and we can bring guides onto the page from the rulers. So I want to do that task here, and if I bring a ruler down, or a guide from the ruler, we are actually clicking in the middle of the ruler and dragging the guidelines across, and these are these blue lines. Incidentally, all of these lines that are on the inside, the margins, the guidelines, the slug, these are non-printable lines. They are meant for the layout artist. Okay, so last but not least, I usually like to have my students practice by setting up page documents of several types so they have a template to start with and understand the document creation process. InDesign is all about starting with a good format so your results will be as expected.